Okay, what's going on, everybody? We're here. We're live. I want to thank you all for joining me today. Shout out to Mr. J. Mr. J says, somebody told me I could find a Russian bot here. Well, I'm right here. I'm right here, your friendly Russian bot powered by artificial intelligence and chat GPT created to push misinformation on YouTube. I am here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for joining me today. If you can see and hear me clearly, please drop a 1 in the live chat and then we can get today's stream started. Now, if you haven't already, as per usual, please hit the like button because that is the most important thing that you can do for me on this channel is hit the like button. What that helps is that it makes sure that this video gets pushed through the YouTube algorithm, and it also helps to make sure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get their notifications. Also, secondly, if you haven't already, and if you've been ghost watching this channel for quite some time now, or maybe you're new to the channel, please follow me, or not follow me, but I should say hit the subscribe button and also hit the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. Also, share this video out on your social media platform so everyone knows that I'm currently live. It also assists me in the YouTube algorithm as well, so please do that. And lastly, please make sure you follow me on Telegram. The link to my Telegram should be pinned in a live chat. Sometimes I forget, but if I did forget, it is in the description box below. And it will be pinned in the comment section once the stream ends. So with all that being said, man, let's get into all this Venezuelan migrant crime that's going on in New York right now. Today's going to be a very light stream, or at least light for me, right? At least light for me mentally as far as streams are concerned, because we're just going to go through a few videos. We're just going to go through a few news clips. We're going to commentate, do a little commentary and reaction to a few of these news clips, just break a couple of things down concerning all this crime that's occurring in New York with these so-called migrants, right? Biden's migrants, right? Venezuelan migrants to be exact. So let's get into that. I want to get into this first clip here, and let's just dive right into this, man. See what's going on.
After that Times Square attack, some leaders are demanding the city.
Let me rewind that back just a little bit.
After that Times Square attack, some leaders are demanding the city council undo laws that prevent federal agents from deporting migrants convicted of crimes.
CBS.
People in New York are starting to demand an end to a sanctuary city status.
It's political reporter Marcia Kramer here now with that part of the story. Marcia?
Well, Dana and Dick, clue the governor and all the other irate politicians now calling for the immediate deportation of the migrants who assaulted the police officers if they are convicted. Their words falling on deaf ears because city laws prevent the NYPD from cooperating with federal immigration agents known as ICE. And the numbers are startling.
This past fiscal year, ICE issued 109 detainer requests for individuals who are dangerous, that committed crimes in our city, and zero have been honored by the city of New York.
Really think about that. Like, I've spoken on this once before, right? In a previous pre-recorded video. But she said however many, I think like what, over 100 detainers have been issued by ICE and zero have been responded to. Imagine the fact, and really let it sit on your mind, that illegal immigrants have more protection from the federal government than you and me, U.S. citizens. U.S. citizens. If the feds are looking for me in New York City, or anywhere in the country for that matter, but let's just say I'm in New York, and the feds are looking for me, NYPD is going to cooperate. They're going to cooperate. And they're going to work together to come find me. And if NYPD arrests me first, they're going to hold on to me until the feds come and pick me up. But if an illegal immigrant commits a crime in New York City and Chicago as well, and all other sanctuary cities, if they commit a crime and ICE comes knocking on the police department's door, issuing out a detainer saying, hold him, and we're on our way to pick him up, they have to let him go. They're obligated to not respond to the federal law enforcement. That is crazy. That is beyond insanity, if you ask me. It's beyond insanity.
Congresswoman Nicole Maliotakis is one of numerous public officials who think the migrants who attacked 2 NYPD officers in Times Square should be deported if they are convicted. But unlike Governor Hochul and some of the others using the D word, she knows it's a tough sell, maybe impossible.
You heard they said the D word? The D word. They can't even fix their mouth to say the word deport in New York.
because laws passed by the city council and signed into law by former Mayor Bill de Blasio prevent the city from cooperating with federal immigration agents.
That is insane. How they can't even fix their mouth to say deport. They can't even do that. You cross the border illegally. You put your hands on law enforcement. And after doing that, you still can't get deported. They have to talk around it and say things like the D word, as opposed to just outright saying, yeah, we're going to get you out of here. You're finished. You're done. No, they're not going to do that. Not in New York. And I think people in Chicago need to take note, because this hasn't really hit Chicago like that yet. But you should all take note of what's going on in New York City, and be prepared for this type of crime wave to hit you guys next. As far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty sure moving forward in a very near future, I'm going to be covering more and more stories coming out of Chicago like this. Now, we all know in Chicago suburbs like Oak Brook, there's been an uptick in retail theft, a pretty big uptick, right? And Chicago police departments, they tried to keep it a secret. If you all remember a stream that I did a while ago concerning an uptick in retail theft within the city of Chicago itself, not the suburbs, but the actual city of Chicago, Chicago PD didn't want to release any of the information concerning how many crimes were committed by Venezuelans, and also as Venezuelan migrants, and also, which was crazy, and maybe if Rob's still here, he remembers this and he can co-sign whether or not this is correct. That's Rob right there, Black Light Revelations 2. But when he did a stream, I want to say, I don't know, what was it about, sometime last week, we'll say. I think it was sometime last week, late last week, about migrant crime in New York City. When he did a stream about that, he played a video where they said in New York City, they don't even keep tabs on crimes committed by so-called migrants. They literally don't keep tabs on that. They don't keep a record of it. So when they commit a crime, it's as if it never happened. Rob, are you still here? Please confirm that for me. Please confirm that for me, Rob, if you're still here. If you commit a crime in New York City and you're an illegal immigrant who's participating in this mass asylum fraud that's going on in the United States right now, with everyone crossing the border illegally, putting their hands up and saying, oh, well, I'm seeking asylum. And if you commit a crime in New York, they don't even keep count of migrant crimes. That is crazy. That is crazy.
What's troubling the most, perhaps, is that NYPD's hands are tied and they are prohibited by City Council's laws from 2014 from cooperating with immigration and customs enforcement.
Federal agent Kenneth Ginallo says the lack of city cooperation allows the migrants to flee. Some of those involved in the Times Square incident reportedly boarded a bus to California or disappear into the community where they are hard to find.
If you don't honor the detainees, there's no way that we can get them immediately. At that point, we have to go searching for them. And obviously, once they're released, they could be in the wind, they could be moving to another state, or they could be going anywhere.
I put the question to Mayor Adams, who says migrants convicted of crime should be thrown out of the country, but he doesn't have the power to do it himself.
I cannot use city resources based on existence law. And so I think that's a question that should be presented to the council.
But what advice would you give the council, given the fact that you, as the mayor of the city of New York, have to deal with the blowback?
My advice to them is that we should never do anything that will allow dangerous people to stay on our streets. I think there's a different view by some in the city and some in the city council.
Before we move forward, Eric Adams, and we're going to get into it later when we get into the Venezuelan organized crime spree that was busted recently. Eric Adams did a brilliant PR move about a couple of days ago. I think it was maybe yesterday or day before yesterday that we're going to get into it, but it was a brilliant PR move. And it really made me laugh just seeing him all dressed up in fatigue, right? I'll say that as a little hint. And I just thought it was brilliant what he did. You know, he's trying to save face. I think he is going to make an attempt to run for mayor again, get reelected. We all know, you know, how much of a long shot that is, granted, given the fact that his name is mud with the Democratic Party right now. But like I said, we're going to get into that clip a little bit later. But I do want to say this before I carry on. Going back to Chicago, for the most part, as far as New York City is concerned, I don't know, man. New York is done. New York is finished, man. It seems like it's just pretty much a wrap over there concerning any type of attempt to lift the sanctuary city status in New York, right? But in Chicago, I do believe there is still a strong chance that this could happen. They were very close. They were very close to being able to get that referendum on the ballot for March in Chicago so that the citizens could actually vote on whether or not Chicago remains a sanctuary city. We all know the dictator, the king of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, a great deceiver. Him and his allies within the city council, they were able to successfully block the vote in city council to add that referendum twice. And then when the third opportunity to vote came up, they were able to have enough votes to make sure that it didn't happen. But the fact that they had to work that hard to prevent the referendum from being on the ballot shows to me that there is hope, right? There is hope that you guys will be able to actually be successful in the next go around. I say in about another 2 years, right? So all it takes is some strong organizing, and you get started now. You got about a 2-year head start on it. And I think that in the very near future, in the next election in 2 years, you guys will be able to add that referendum on the ballot and actually vote away the sanctuary city status of Chicago. But take this as a lesson. Use this as the fuel that you need to get yourselves organized over there to make sure that not only that this doesn't happen, but to the degree that it may begin to happen and become more aggressive in Chicago, as it has become very aggressive. The crime in New York by Venezuelan migrants have become extremely aggressive. Before it even gets to that point, or if it begins to get to that point in Chicago, you'll already be in position to be able to lift that sanctuary city status off the city so that ICE could actually do its job. Now, let's finish this clip out, and then we're going to head into the next one.
A spokesperson for the city council defended the present laws, saying they were intended to assure that immigrant communities, quote, are not deterred from seeking help or reporting crimes to city officials out of fear of deportation because of their immigration status. Dick and Dana.
Marsha, thank you.
So that does it for that. Now let's go into the next clip. And Christ, Truth, Freedom said, 2 years, the migrants will be voters in 2 years. That's very well possible. It's very well possible that they could be voters in 2 years. It's very well possible. One of the things that I've stood strong on is that I do believe that before Brandon Johnson gets out of office, he will make non-citizen voting legal in the city of Chicago. It's pivoting in that direction. When he was asked about that question on a radio show when he was running for mayor a couple months ago, right? A couple months back, sometime last year, he kind of moved away from it, right? He didn't want to really answer the question, but he did say he wanted non-citizen voting in some areas, I believe concerning something about schools, something concerning like voting within schools or something like that. I can't remember what the technical language was that he used, but yeah, you never know. Christ, Truth, Freedom. In 2 years, it just might be too late. You know, voting blue, no matter who, might have caught up to you by that time, and it's Chicago's finished and done like New York. But I guess time will tell, right? Now, I want to get into the next clip right now concerning the same situation that occurred with the Venezuelan migrants beating up on the NYPD. So let's get into this right now. There are 328 of you in the live chat. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. And what's that? Noram said, love your show. I appreciate that. I appreciate you loving the show. So let's get into the next clip.
CBS 2's Christina Fenn reports more controversy today for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office after several suspects accused of attacking police officer in Times Square were released without bail. CBS 2's Christina Fenn reports Governor Hochul is also criticizing the decision.
As police,
I remember what I wanted to do with this clip. We're not going to watch the whole thing. I just wanted to show you something at the very end concerning Kathy Hochul. Let's look at Kathy Hochul.
Something that should be looked at. If some
19 to 24.
Rewind it back just a
Many of
little
the
bit more.
defendants
Okay, here we go.
suspects, bringing the total number to 7. 5 are still outstanding. The NYPD says many of the defendants were migrants staying at city shelters, ranging in age from 19 to 24 years old. Governor Hochul was asked if she felt those responsible for the attack should be deported.
I think that's absolutely something that should be looked at. If someone commits a crime against a police officer in the state of New York, and they're not, they're not here legally, definitely worth checking into.
That makes me so mad. She can't even fix her crooked mouth to say that they should be deported. So if if you're here, and then you do something wrong, and you're an immigrant, that should definitely be looked into. It should definitely be looked into. Yeah, and that does it. We're not changing a thing in New York City, and this is the end. That aggravates me so much. She can't, like I said, she can't even fix her crooked mouth to say they should be deported. Just, that should be something that's looked into. Let's just watch that one more time.
Ranging in age from 19 to 24 years old. Governor Hochul was asked if she felt those responsible for the attack should be deported.
I think that's absolutely something that should be looked at. If someone commits a crime against a police officer in the state of New York, and they're not, they're not here legally, definitely worth checking into.
Definitely worth checking into. What a piece of garbage. What a piece of trash. What a piece of trash. Now, because New York is a sanctuary city, to which illegal immigrants have more protection from the federal government than citizens of the United States do, right? Because they have more protections from the federal government than you do, these criminals were able to escape, and they were on the run. Detainers were issued by ICE. Those detainers were not honored by NYPD because of the sanctuary city status of New York City. And those migrants are so-called migrants, illegal immigrants, right? Those participating in asylum fraud, they were on the run. They were on the loose. And quite a few of them actually got captured on their way to California. They got captured on their way to California. So let's get into that right now.
Robert Moses is live outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan, where DA Alvin Bragg is expected to present charges to a grand jury later today. Robert has the very latest on this situation. Robert, good morning.
Dan, good morning to you. This case has generated national attention and also a national manhunt. That search appears to have paid dividends since at least some of the migrants who skipped town are free no more. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, along with the Department of Homeland Security, arrested several of the migrants accused of beating 2 NYPD officers in Times Square on January 27th. The takedowns happened yesterday at a Greyhound bus station in Phoenix, according to Fox News, which obtained this picture from an ICE source.
It's crazy. It is insane that ICE had to go to those lengths to track these guys down themselves when NYPD had them in possession and let them go because of this criminal sanctuary city status that's allowed to be law in New York City.
4 of the migrants who were released without bail after their arrests.
Let me rewind that back just a little bit.
Station in Phoenix, according to Fox News, which obtained this picture from an ICE source. 4 of the migrants who were released without bail after their arrests are believed to have fled for California by bus. There are no details yet about which of the migrants were arrested yesterday. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg says his office plans to present charges to the grand jury later today.
Despicable behavior.
Bragg has been heavily criticized for not requesting bail for most of the suspects arrested for the attack. He defended his decision-making on Friday.
We make decisions based on the evidence we have before us at the time. Our profound obligation is to make sure we have the right people charged with the right crimes.
Braggs has more smoke for Donald Trump and Jonathan Majors. He has more smoke for Donald Trump and Jonathan Majors than he does for illegal immigrants who physically assaulted police officers. He said, no, they're good. Hey, well, technically under the law, I'm trying to do my job. And, I don't know. I just have to let them go. You know what I mean? But Jonathan Majors, nah. You borderline looking at jail time for running away from your life from a crazy woman who was actually attacking you, to which you still got found guilty after running away from a crazy woman because Braggs wanted to make sure that he held you accountable. Braggs had more smoke for Jonathan Majors, a celebrity, an actor who's barely a celebrity, a guy who was on the come up. He's barely made it as a celebrity. He made sure to ruin his career so that he can't make money anymore. An American citizen, Jonathan Majors is done in Hollywood. He's finished. Whether or not he'll be able to make a comeback, I don't know. Time will tell. But Braggs made it a point to ruin this man's career. But when it comes to arresting, issuing bail, making sure to keep these guys in jail, let alone cooperating with ICE to come get these guys and deport them, no. Illegal immigrants, you're good to go. You're good to go. Jonathan Majors, you just escaped jail time for actually running away from a woman who was attacking you and acting crazy.
Said that one defendant, 24-year-old Yohenry Brito, is currently being held on bail. The NYPD's chief of patrol criticized prosecutors for not asking for bail for most of the offenders.
You touch a cop, you should go to jail. I mean, it's really that simple. But this is why it's happening. No consequences, and our cops are getting hurt out there. Unacceptable.
Governor.
And once again, as he's saying, with no consequences, what this also does as well, in between there being no consequences, in between illegal immigrants knowing that they can put hands on NYPD and nothing will happen. You add that on top of the fact that they're issuing out cash cards, up to $1,000 if you have a family of 4. But it doesn't stop there, right? You make it, you can possibly even get more than $1,000 a month if your family is larger. And there's no mechanism in place that puts checks and balances on how many people can be in this family, let alone whether or not the children of these so-called migrants are actually the biological children to the so-called mother and father, right? That are supposed to be the parents of these children. There's no way to know that. There are no birth certificates. There's no way to know who's who and what's what. You can have a man and a woman walk up, apply for those benefits with about 10 children, and New York City is just going to go on their word and say, okay, well, you got 10 kids, so I don't know, that comes out to about $2,000 a month. Here's your cash card. It's amazing what they could actually get away with over there. You take all of this into consideration. All that does is give the green light for more migrants to come to New York. That's all that does. You're literally laying out the welcome mat for more so-called migrants to run straight to New York City. Why wouldn't they? I do the same too. Let me get my cash card and know that, I can whoop on a law enforcement in New York City and not face any consequences. I'm coming to New York myself.
Kathy Hochul has called for the deportation of migrants found to be responsible for the assaults on the officers.
Get them all and send them back.
I don't know what that means. Get them all and send them back. Why can't she just say the word deport? What is wrong with Kathy Hochul? Why can't she just say that word?
Responsible for the assaults on the officers.
Get them all and send them back.
Get them all and send them back. Deport them. Deport. Say it with me, Kathy. Deport. It is really impossible for this woman to utter those words. That is amazing.
I mentioned that the one suspect being held on bail, Yohenry Brito, well, he is due to appear here in criminal court later on this morning. Also, we expect to hear more from ICE later on today about those migrants arrested in Phoenix. We're live in Lower Manhattan this morning. Dan, back to you.
Robert, thank you very much.
Now, I want to get into the next clip, right? That does it for these guys, right? That does it for these guys, these criminals that beat up on the NYPD, and we're able to just pretty much just get off, right? Because of sanctuary city status. Now, what I want to head into is a crime spree that was taking place in New York City, led by essentially a Venezuelan gang, right? As far as I'm concerned, they're a Venezuelan crime gang, a Venezuelan migrant crime gang that was just wreaking havoc in New York City, terrorizing the citizens of New York, right? And they were, so far, they've been connected to about 60 crimes so far, but it's 60 crimes and counting, 60 and counting. So let's get into this clip right now. This is insane. This is insane. And before I get into the clip, there are 496 of you in the stream right now. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. That is extremely important for the growth of this channel. Thank you.
But
let's start at the beginning.
They walked across the border for a better life, but now they are walking out in handcuffs after police say
they did not come here for a better life. They came here for freebies and a come up.
After police say their American dream was to commit crime.
Anything you want to say for yourself?
How did these migrants end up on the wrong side of the law? Police say it did not happen overnight and that they are organized criminals accused of being a part of a citywide robbery pattern.
Migrants preying on vulnerable New Yorkers in New York City. Over 60 victims committing crimes as robberies, grand larcenies, purse snatches.
Pix 11 News, the only camera inside as police plan and prepare and execute a search warrant. Police say a ringleader of the group has been recruiting migrants who recently arrived in the city to do his dirty work. He even had a so-called inside man able to hack into cell phones.
Believe it or not, that he has his own IT guy in there apparently breaking into the phones.
This man has his own IT guy.
Police also believe the group is responsible for committing violent crimes.
They're using stolen mopeds to ride up behind innocent New Yorkers to steal their cell phones, their purses.
This surveillance video, police say, shows a victim holding on to a purse. The thief on a moped dragging the victim.
Wow. Did you see how she just ran into the, what is it, the meter machine? Understand, this is the kind of savagery and foolishness that goes on over there. This is what happens over there. And they brought that over here to New York City with them. They brought that over here with them. I'm not interested, and I'm not trying to hear anything about, like, the head honcho guy, whatever his name is, that they had the picture at the top of the poster board. He's the one who's recruiting them. I don't want to hear about recruiting. We're not going to play any games as if they came here for a better life, but then they just got recruited into a life of crime. No, they came here for that. They came here for that. They came here to participate in criminal activity. You can't be that criminally violent. They're pulling up behind people on mopeds, right? And snatching purses where the women are holding, where the woman, like you saw in video, she's holding on to it to the point to where he dragged her and she ran into a parking meter, laid there knocked out. And you want to spin this into some sort of, well, they came here for a better life, but they got recruited into a life of crime. No, they were criminals when they got here. Those people that have been arrested as part of this crime syndicate, they were criminals when they got here. Just a fact.
Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenny tells us this is more than disturbing.
What message does this send to anyone, whether migrant or not, who believe they can commit crime?
We're not going to tolerate this. This is an organized criminal enterprise where these cell phones are being stolen from orders.
Police arriving to this apartment building on Bronx Park East before sunrise Monday, where the suspects allegedly rent rooms inside an apartment. Once police hit the apartment door, they say the migrants inside immediately tried to get rid of evidence, throwing stolen cell phones out of their apartment window. So far, this group is accused of at least 62 crimes. Police are also looking into whether or not the men seen on this surveillance video attacking 2 police officers in Times Square are also a part of this same group.
So let's go get these guys.
Mayor
Look at Eric Adams. That's the PR move that I was talking about. What Eric Adams doing is suited up back in the NYPD uniform. Eric Adams said, let's go get these guys. Eric Adams don't want to be mayor no more. He's trying to hit the beat. He's trying to get back on the streets again. He want to be a cop again. He said, this mayor life too much for me. Let me go ahead and make this a little bigger. Look at Eric Adams.
Also a part of this same group.
So let's go get these guys.
I don't know why that's so funny to me. Eric Adams said, I was done with being a mayor. Pass the Glock. Let's go get these guys.
Also a part of this same group.
So let's go get these guys.
Mayor Adams also joined the officers during the raid.
Those who are committing crimes, like what we witnessed of the assault of police officers, and now we're finding out that they're part of a pattern, a robbery and grand larceny pattern, it is what we're going to crack down on. It doesn't matter where you come from, no matter who you are, you break the law, you're going to feel the full weight of this police department.
In the Bronx.
He sounds like he's back on the force, doesn't he? Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you come from. You break the law, you're gonna be hit with the full weight of this police force. He sounds like he's back on the beat. We'll wind that back just a little bit. Then we're gonna move on. I don't know why I am highly entertained by seeing Officer Adams. Right, went from Mayor Adams back to Officer Adams.
We're going to crack down on it. Doesn't matter where you come from, no matter who you are, you break the law, you're going to feel the full weight of this police department.
In the Bronx, Nicole Johnson, Pix 11 News.
Yeah, so once again, like I was saying earlier, that was actually an excellent PR move. That's actually an excellent PR move by Brandon Johnson, by suiting up, going back from I'm not Brandon Johnson, by Eric Adams, by suiting up and going from Mayor Johnson back to I keep saying Johnson. I don't know why I got the great deceiver Brandon Johnson on the mind, but by Eric Adams, from going back to Mayor Adams to Officer Adams, right? That's actually a very great PR move and a good look to make it appear, right? Because that's what it's all about, making it appear, right? To make it appear as if he's serious about putting an end to migrant crime, and that if you elect me again as mayor, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to put a stop to all this. Now, I highly doubt it, but it is a great move on his behalf. I think that's an excellent move. Now let's get into the next clip.
Begin with a terrifying video of a woman being dragged across the street while she was being robbed.
Did you see how she hit that? Look at this.
But we're going to begin with a terrifying video of a woman being dragged across the street while she was being robbed. Tonight, cops are arresting several migrants for dozens of robberies all across New York City.
Eyewitness News reporter Jim Dolan.
Look at how aggressive the criminality is.
With what could happen to those migrants.
From Sheepshead Bay to Lower Manhattan, police say a gang of recent migrants from Venezuela terrorized New Yorkers, robbing them violently and then hacking their phones to drain bank accounts of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Police say this is one part of one migrant gang, and there are others.
In recent months, a wave of migrant crime has washed over our city. But they are nonetheless preying on New Yorkers and making our city less safe.
Here, a thief on a moped violently steals a purse, but most importantly, a phone. The phone is then hacked to drain the person's bank accounts. This one pattern has nearly 150 victims, but is part of a larger pattern of criminal gangs police say they have discovered in the migrant community.
They're essentially ghost criminals.
Facts. Ghost criminals. And shout out to Lloyd Sky 9, because he validated what I stated earlier. Rob isn't here anymore. But like I said, in Rob, who's Black Light Revelations 2 that I often make reference to, that you'll see on the screen, he made reference in one of his past live streams, right? Or he played a news clip where in that clip, they stated that they do not keep track of migrant crimes in New York City. They don't keep track of it. They don't hold count of it. Now, folks that look like you and me, oh, they got the numbers. They know how many of us commit crime if we do something wrong. But if you're an illegal immigrant, they don't keep track of it. We don't know. We don't know what they're doing. We don't know how many of them are committing crime. That's by design. It's done intentionally so that you can't put a number to how much crime is actually skyrocketing that can be attributed to these so-called migrants. They don't want you to be able to put a number on it, because many of you would probably be just completely in outrage if you saw what the raw numbers were. Forget about a percentage, but what the raw numbers were of these so-called migrants committing crimes in New York City.
No criminal history, no photos, no cell phone, no social media.
Let me rewind that back, because he's making a very good point. He's making a very good point. Ghost criminals is what the illegal immigrants are in New York City. Ghost criminals.
Police say they have discovered in the migrant community.
They're essentially ghost criminals, no criminal history, no photos, no cell phone, no social media. Sometimes we're even unclear on a name or a date of birth.
This network of thieves predominantly live in the migrant shelter system. They use social media platforms to organize and coordinate their thefts.
The increase in crimes committed by migrants has some wondering if bills signed into law under Mayor de Blasio that prevent the NYPD from cooperating with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, should be reconsidered.
These sanctuary city policies are ridiculous. They're impeding our law enforcement, our officials. They're making those same law enforcement officials less safe, and by consequence, they're making all of us less safe.
That's a question that should be presented to the council.
The mayor recently has shown some openness to reestablishing some cooperation with ICE, but the de Blasio-era laws tie his hands. In the meantime,
it doesn't matter if a person is a migrant, asylum seeker, or if the person is a long-term New Yorker. You break the law, it would be investigated, and it would be handled by our criminal justice system.
No, I'm not feeling that. Don't conflate the two. Don't conflate the two. I'm not feeling that. I don't like how he did that there. I don't like how he conflated the two. It doesn't matter if, you know, you're a migrant or an asylum seeker, or if you're a longtime New Yorker. Stop it. Stop it. Let's not conflate the two. Let's not conflate longtime New Yorkers versus those who came here, who are most likely criminals in their own country, but then crossed the border and came here and continue to participate in violent criminality in New York City. Really think about the kind of person that you'd have to be to run up behind somebody on a moped, grab a woman's purse. She's holding on to it, but you're not going to let go. And she smacks herself and gets knocked out on a parking meter, and you just drive off. Really think about the kind of person that is. And it's people like this that are being protected under New York's sanctuary city status. To the degree, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to be honest with you, New York is a lost cause. New York is a lost cause. Nothing's going to change over there, right? Nothing's going to change in New York City. New York is a lost cause. But to the degree that there is still hope in Chicago, because you guys were close. You guys were close. And they're still at being able to get that referendum, right, on the ballot to eliminate Chicago's sanctuary city status. You're close. Fight on over there and use this as an example. Use this as an example and to kind of scare the people straight in Chicago, you know, concerning the whole vote blue no matter who mentality, as well as being able to organize it around an effort to establish some laws in place, right, to push state politicians, whereas city politicians, to be able to put laws in place that actually place a mechanism for you to be able to recall the mayor, Brandon Johnson, because as of right now, there's no mechanism in place to recall him. And also make sure to have your organized efforts around being able to place your own people in office that you know will actually represent you accordingly, versus just voting for, I don't know, goofy like Jeanette Taylor, right, off of namesake. You vote somebody like her in office who pretended to be all about Black folks, right? Everything that she does is political theater, because in the city of Chicago, at every and any opportunity that came up, when it came to voting for anything that was in favor of the migrant crisis concerning all types of aid, millions of dollars, she even voted against the referendum to put the sanctuary city status up for the vote. She voted against that. It is extremely important that we take our local politics seriously in a city like Chicago, where you still have hope. There's still a chance to remove people like Jeanette Taylor out of her seat, replace her with somebody who will actually represent you, and gut the sanctuary city status of Chicago. There's still hope, you know. But as far as New York City is concerned, I'm not gonna lie, man. There's no hope. New York City's done. New York City's finished and it's done. And this stream is also finished and done. So with all that being said, I want to thank you all for joining me today. There are 600 of you in the stream right now. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. That's extremely important. Share this video out on your social media platform. And also make sure You subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. And I will catch you guys Thursday night. Until then, have a great night and a safe evening. Peace.